Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Riverside Theatre's Backstage Chat. It's still a beautiful day in the neighborhood because we get to talk to two of the wonderful performers in our production of the Carole King musical that is playing our Stark stage through May 11th. So please, if you have not seen the show yet, you must come see the show. We're talking to SARAH ELLIS, who plays Cynthia Weil in the show, and NICK MOULTON, who plays Barry Mann in the show.
Hello, hello.
And yes, this is called the Carole King musical, but while it does focus on Carole King and her singer-songwriter husband, Jerry Goffin, that's Jake Goss who's playing Jerry Goffin. It also deals with Sara and Nick's characters, Cynthia and Barry Mann, who are competing, friendshipy kind of another singer-songwriting team.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what's beautiful is, yes, the show does include Carole's music, but it also includes Cynthia and Barry's music as well, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Wow.
It's beautiful.
It's the word of the day.
Pun intended.
Yeah, we really have to find better adjectives because we say beautiful backstage all the time too. Like, gosh, we did it again.
You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
It's beautiful. But before we get to talking a little bit about the show, I want to welcome you both because we are taping this right before a matinee performance. So you guys are going to get out of here, get out of the studio, get ready for the audience that is anxiously awaiting this performance. So we're very thankful and appreciative of that. SARAH has been here before. This is her third time. You were in $1 Million Quartet in 2018 and last year in Jersey Boys.
Yes.
And we're hoping for next year too.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, we'll just keep putting it out into the universe. So how does it feel to come back?
Oh, I just love it here. I love Vero Beach. I love meeting all the donors and the community, and I just, it's like a vacation, like obviously we're working here, but to be so close to the beach and to also just feel like a little slower pace down here is really nice. Coming from New York, it's just really wonderful to be doing a show that I love, and also my history here is I do jukebox musicals apparently. Yes. So all these songs that people can sing along to and experience, and I just feel like there's this very gorgeous collective effervescence that happens when I'm down here because people just feel so a part of the music that they know, and it's very, very cool. So,
and it's important the shows that you've been involved with do harken back to another time that people's memories sort of are rekindled.
Absolutely.
Or you start thinking of the time you were in love or the first time you bought a car or what have you.
Or the first time you heard that song, where you were in your life.
Exactly.
You think about $1 Million Quartet, and rockabilly was just starting. Rock and roll was the beginning of Elvis. It was the beginning of Johnny Cash. It was all the start of their careers. And they think about Jersey Boys, and it's the beginning of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, and all of the incredible discography of music they created. And now we get to explore Carole's discography and Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil's.
Yay!
All of those artists were setting the sound for generations to come. So it's so cool to be a vessel for that music.
And great music, absolutely great music. Now, Nick, this is your first time with us. How do you feel about Vero Beach? What have you learned? I mean, you've been performing here for 2 weeks. Granted, you were 3 weeks of rehearsal before that, so you've been able to explore a little of the area. Yeah. What do you think?
I love it. Yeah, I have to harken back to the slower pace. It is really wonderful. And also, yet there is still a bustling energy around the theater, and the arts community here is so strong and supportive, and that is the absolute best and most complete picture. The slow pace, the sunshine, which we're always grateful for, to get out of the cold of New York and down here and get some vitamin D, which is so needed. But also, is just that vibrancy of the community down here, and the support is seemingly unrivaled, and so that is always just such a wonderful thing to walk into.
I always like to say that the community is so supportive of not only Riverside Theatre and what we produce, but also the other arts organizations in this town.
Yeah.
So a town of this size, to have all the culture that surrounds us is quite impressive. And I'm glad you're feeling that support as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It feels singular in its nature. Of course, we've been to many places in this country and maybe internationally as well. But yeah, it feels like a unique experience that's really fun to be a part of, and that I'm incredibly grateful at any point to be a part of a conversation or to start a conversation in a community, which obviously the show touches on, maybe some more historical elements, teaching people about the discography of Carole King, Barry Mann, Cynthia Weil, but also about where female singer-songwriters started. And so the Beatles, for men in music, is the equivalent of Carole King to female songwriters, and ushering in a generation of really incredible female artists as well.
Well, I'm hoping people have, like I mentioned before, have seen the show, or at least are familiar with the show, Beautiful, the Carole King musical, which is her life, when she was 16 and then how she became a solo artist. It's beautiful. But how does Cynthia and Barry play into this story?
Take it away, Nick.
Thanks. So you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, which is that there is a rivalry, and the way that I can describe is that it almost feels like a sibling-like rivalry, where there's an intense amount of love and respect, and also competition.
Sure.
And so that really springboards each other to be better. And so one couple will take the hit. Jerry and Carol wrote, Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow? And that ushered in an inspiration for Barry and Cynthia to write the next big hit. And it was really intensely competitive, as was that entire building of 1650 Broadway. But particularly for them, they had so much love and respect for each other that it enabled them to work really hard to beat out the other person for that top spot. And when that did happen, there was no love lost. And at the same time, that was also the next kick in the butt to write the next big hit.
Right.
Yeah.
So in essence,
you were as good as your last big hit.
Correct.
That's
You
right.
had to continue to produce.
And it was so much faster. It's actually kind of gotten to the same point as where we are today in music, because it's so easy to produce music now that anyone can do it. So it's always like, where's the next hit? And you can always, now we have laptops and we can produce on planes and trains and cars and everywhere. And that was their job, but they were trying to crank out a hit in 24 hours. They need a song for the Chiffons, the Shirelles, the Drifters, and I need it by tomorrow. And you got to hit it. And now it's sort of the same thing. So we're kind of seeing history repeat itself, which is a really fun thing. As someone who produces music of my own, that it's really interesting to work on this material side by side as also producing my own material, and then also seeing some friends who also produce stuff. So it's really, really interesting. But that being said, neither of them would have had their success without the other.
Totally. And they collaborated on stuff all the time. Didn't Barry and Carol write a song together at one point?
Barry and Jerry wrote a song together called "Who Put the Bump," and it is
yes.
awesome.
It's in the show, folks.
It's in the show. And there are so many, especially in the show too. I think they did such a great job of dropping in some Easter eggs too, because 1650 Broadway was a cacophony of sound. I mean, the way they describe it back in the day, it was like, it's literally just kind of like an office space, all these like office
cubicles,
rooms,
in essence,
yeah,
they had a little room, but the sound would permeate the other rooms.
Correct. And they would hear each other's ideas, and Barry has a line in the show, it's like, we get a lot of ideas that way by listening to what you're doing across, through the wall. And then, they would have like a piano and maybe a desk with like a giant ashtray and a bunch of cigarettes, because there is music actually written in the show. There's like kind of like, if you listen, when you see the show, or if you have seen the show, there's this kind of like sitcom-y sounds that happen in the transitions between, like specifically when Barry and Cyn first get together and we are in competition. And we set up the competition right away with Jerry and Carol, and it's like it's just this cute little sitcom, but it's titled "Writing All Night." That's what it's like in the score, what it's titled, because they really were staying up all night and writing hit after hit after hit. And it's true, they did vacation together. You see them go on vacation because they did not want to make sure that no one else was writing while they were on vacation together. So it was like basically, we're not allowed to talk about work now. We're not allowed to get ahead of each other right now because we are vacationing together.
And yet this rivalry, friendship, they weren't frenemies, they were actual friends.
Absolutely.
It sort of like not only pushed each other to do better, but you could understand the other couple because you were going through the same thing. So having some other person randomly get into this mix would not have been as coordinated. So much great success would have come out because they respected each other, but they also wanted to better each other.
Absolutely, absolutely. The perfect collaborators, honestly.
Yeah.
And like I said, Easter eggs, like we have Phil Spector would collaborate with them, Lieber and Stoller. I mean, on Broadway is Barry Mann, Cynthia Weil, and Lieber and Stoller. That's the four of them who wrote on Broadway. And they're just like these huge hit makers of this generation, all in one building. Like to be a fly on the wall, oh my goodness, to be experiencing in real time all of these incredible licks that we still hum today. At that time was just, it's a renaissance of music.
Now the show sort of tells us, the audience, how Cynthia and Barry met. But the end of the show is not the end of their story.
No.
It was not. That was very much the beginning. And the story, their real story is actually a little bit different than what happens in the show. So they got married very quickly. In real life, and they stayed together up until Cynthia's unfortunate passing a couple years ago. But they were the epitome of what a strong relationship looks like. They had an immense amount of respect for each other, an intense amount of care for each other, and that lasted their entirety of their life. Once they met, they were inseparable.
Yeah, and Cyn chased Barry.
That's right.
Cyn was like, Barry, I feel like in a podcast, he's like, and once Cyn saw me, like it was all over.
Yeah.
We were together from then on.
Oh, wonderful. And now the show sort of ends with the beginning of Carol's solo career, but we really don't touch onto Cynthia and Barry's life because this is the Carole King story. But the characters, Cynthia and Barry, continue to write so many other incredible music for films, for TV. Does any of their songs sort of still touch your heart or bring back a special memory?
Love Will Bring Us Together, just because it is such like a glam pop feel good song. Love!
Tony,
love will keep us together. Come on, have a bad day and listen to that song, and I will find you a liar.
Yes.
And Mock Cast, the Make Your Own Kind of Music. Sing that whole song. And then Dolly Parton, the Here You Go Again.
Somewhere Out There
from Five O Goes West.
Amazing.
And they wrote Muppet Treasure Island, all that music. Like, I grew up with Muppet Treasure Island, I was obsessed.
They really had no bounds, and it was so wonderful that they took, and I think it was because of their relationship with Jerry and Carole and understanding that there's an innate challenge of being a songwriter in that generation where it was quick, and you had to be creative, and I think as, sure you can speak to this, as someone who is a massive digester of the creative process and optimizing the creative process, is that the best way to be creative is to limit yourself. And so they limited themselves with time, and they put themselves into these odd boxes of like writing for like an animated film. How do you write for that when you've written songs that are, for all intents and purposes, like really mature? Like Walking in the Rain is really, really beautiful tune. And then you write, absolute hits like on Broadway, and then you go and you write for an animated film. Like that's such a unique way to limit yourself creatively and put yourself in an uncomfortable space that ultimately can really be the ultimate synthesizer for really brilliant creativity.
They were attuned to what was going around. In the show, Jerry says, the sound, I need to keep up with the sound. And Cynthia and Barry pretty much created sound, and they also listened to what was going on to be able to continue to create that music.
Yeah. And they went to the clubs all the time. They were always going to the offbeat places to see what was going on, in the clubs and in New York City and in LA. And they were ear to the ground all the time, making sure that they were keeping up, but also taking inspiration from what was going on politically at the time too.
Right. And it was a blessing that they just loved it, that it never felt like work to them. So that's paramount to their success.
Talking about work, you're working.
What's that?
And
We're just having fun here.
You'll be working very shortly. But how did you, Sarah, and then I'll ask Nick, how did you know that this is what you wanted to do?
Oh gosh. Well, I grew up with 2 band directors as parents, so I was singing before I could talk, and very much always moving and grooving. And my parents always tell the story that I would identify instruments very quickly. I'd be like, saxophone! I was able to identify.
Those were your first word, band
Truly,
instruments,
honestly, yes, bird and then saxophone. Yeah, no, it was kind of crazy. And then my parents put me in children's choir, and then I took ballet, and I was a very hyperactive child, and they just had to get me out of the house and put me as many organized activities as possible, basically, to still this crazy creative human. And then they realized, I was like, I really don't think the pit is for me. I don't think I can be playing clarinet in the pit like my parents do. I think I need to be on that stage. And so then I went to school for musical theater, and I literally decided that I wanted to do theater without ever having stepped foot in New York City. I'm from a very small town in Wisconsin, and the first time I went to New York, I think, was after my freshman year of college, but I already committed to 4 years in a musical theater degree. I was I have to do this. And so then I graduated, I got an agent, I moved to New York, and it's been a blessing ever since.
But you also create your own work.
Yes,
and that's exciting.
Yes, I have a short film company called MT Shorts, where we make original musical short films, and we foster the development of new works and kind of use them as a calling card for the next generation of musical theater writers, because not everyone can make it to New York to see a reading at 54 Below or something, and oftentimes those aren't an accurate representation of the work that these writers are doing anyway. And we were making this short form content before TikTok or anything like that.
There you go.
And then I also direct and choreograph, and I love it. I love it all. I love all the creative things and being involved in theater and taking inspiration from all sorts of different, whether it's music or seeing comedy shows or seeing jazz club. I feel like I am a little bit like Cynthia Weil in that I am a consumer, and ultimately from the consuming we make the art. Correct. Because you take from everything. You just get inspiration from everywhere.
Yeah. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
So exciting. Continue. Huzzah!
Huzzah! Huzzah!
Nick, how did you?
I did not intend to do this. I did not intend to be here. I'm going to be completely frank. Growing up, I was a musician, and I similarly was in band at a young age, and I played drums and played sports, and I thought I was going to use my athletics to get me into college and have a pretty conventional life. But I loved music, and was in a rock band with my brother from a pretty early age. And so I wanted to...
So musical family, if your brother is...
Yes, but no one else in my family played music. I don't know, both my parents said, I don't know how you both got this. This is not what we do. But we both played in a band and picked it up, but I did not sing until I was like a junior in high school.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, and so I self-taught myself like drums, guitar, bass guitar, a little bit of piano, trombone, and that was just what I loved to do in high school, was just like learn instruments. And and so I went to school. I did perform in plays, and I loved it, but I was like, I'm a musician and an actor, and those are separate things. And so I went to school for theater to be an actor, and fortunately I had a couple very dear friends, Randy and Trisha and Jess, who after my freshman year said, this is really cute, this thing that you want to be an actor, but you should really do musical theater, like if you want to make money in this business. And I said, okay. And for me, it was that my pivot, my focus shifted from doing something that I was good at in school to doing the thing that I wasn't good at in school. And I said, if I'm going to be here and I'm going to pay this money, then I might as well look at the things that I'm not good at. And so then my focus shifted entirely. And so then I started to teach myself how to sing like musical theater style. But in the show, you'll see that I definitely have like hold on to like my pop and rock roots that to me are so important. And so this show is so reflective of my experience because I wanted to be a writer and I wanted to tour with my music and, be in a like, crappy white van and to drive around this country and play shows for beer and gas money.
Kalamazoo?
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. But, so it kind of comes full circle. And that's why, I've done this show quite a few times now, but it's never lost on me how important this material is and how self-reflective it is. So it doesn't get old to me, and certainly not with people like SARAH Ellis. It is always a pleasure to work with someone who is as collaborative and as willing to play and change and explore things. That's just, it's a gift.
We did an earlier podcast with Sarah Bockel, who plays Carole King, and Jake Goss, who plays Jerry Giffen.
Who are those people?
Yeah,
who are those people? There are 2 people on the show.
Gosh.
But anyway, I was just going to say that you could tell that there is such camaraderie, such a family feel with this group of performers.
Yeah.
Because it makes the telling of the story so much easier, and you can really glean from the audience all that energy.
Yeah.
They're remembering, like you mentioned before, they're remembering a time when this music was on, birth of a child, or their first kiss, or the first dance at their wedding or something. So having the focus on your performance for the audience and receiving it is such a boon to us as audience members. So thank you for being so wonderful on stage, on and off the stage, because you're all fabulous. So before we close and we get back to one little question on the show itself, what's next for Sarah? What's next for Nick?
Yeah, so we close on May 11th. I fly straight to Fayetteville, Arkansas on May 12th, and I'm popping into rehearsals behind the table. I'm choreographing the Tony Award-winning A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder.
Wow, we're doing that next season. Wow, isn't that amazing?
This is news to me.
Putting that out into the universe.
But yeah, so I've even yesterday we were in rehearsal and I had to sneak away for a quick pre-production meeting, and I'm really jazzed to be, it's so fun to wear all the hats, and I'm really, really excited to
flexing another muscle.
Yes, absolutely. And we're all with the same goal in mind, is to make an incredible show, no matter what department you're in. So it's very fun to exercise new muscles and to lead a group of actors, because that's what I've always been a leader, and I enjoy it, and I'm excited.
We're excited for you.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. Okay. My next project, I'm doing a Simon and Garfunkel concert down in Texas.
Wow.
With a dear producer friend of mine at Casa Manana Theater, which I've worked at quite a few times. Love it down there. They're incredible, very similar to this, and really, really vibrant community that loves their art. And that's in Fort Worth, Texas. But additionally, I'm also getting a graduate degree in mental health counseling, and with the intention of working with people like ourselves who work in non-traditional, non-9-to-5 spaces, bring value and meaning to their lives and understanding where I think historically it's been tough. I was raised as a military kid, and so looking at my life in that regard, and my family's life in that regard, that I've been able to see some parallels and understand that there are certain unique stressors and demands that are really hard to make sense of in a traditional way. And so, I've always been wanted to have a direct impact in people's lives, and I certainly get to do that with performing in its own unique way and being an artist, but now I'm also looking to supplement that in a different way to ensure that we have a vibrant pool of artists that continue to tell stories and that are equipped with the tools the non-technical tools to continue to be artists, to continue to tell stories, and to make sure that that is that there's longevity to that. So
how amazing. You know, it is difficult as a performer. You're going from one theater to another theater to another theater.
Yeah, absolutely.
Meeting new people. Maybe you've worked with them before, maybe you haven't. And to have in your field some sort of base support that will help you. I mean, you and your body are your instrument. It's not like you have to tune a saxophone or what have you.
That's right.
So you have to tune yourself.
That's right.
So
That's right.
What a beautiful, noble goal.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Great.
He's gonna be
Congratulations.
great.
Before I let you guys go, because it's time for you almost to get ready for our matinee, what would you like our audiences, once they've seen the show, to remember or leave the theater feeling?
Ooh, that's a great question.
I think what I hope you walk out of the theater with is this sensory recall that you've been talking about, which is what does this evoke? Like for me, the music has always been the thing that can connect an ocean of people for reasons we can't really quite explain. And so I know that music has such a powerful hold in my life, and has been it has been my safe haven. It has been my rocket ship. It has been my soft place to land. It's been everything for me. And so I hope that we can walk out of the theater and, one, remember the things that were really important to you when you were young. And two, that I hope we can realize that it is the great connector, and that there is, I think in such what can be a really divisive time, that we do all have things in common, and that there are these connection points that hopefully that we can use that to tether ourselves to have important conversations, to unify us as communities and as a country, as a culture, etc.
Beautifully said. Thank you.
Ooh, I love that. Yes to that.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, gosh. And I just want them to have fun. No, yes. And in that thread of talking about and sparking conversation from seeing this show about where you were when you heard that song for the first time, or but there is a theme in this show that is about mental health and about the demons that live inside us. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of help for those things and ways to describe how we were feeling. And I hope if people see this show and maybe see a loved one or themselves at all, a version of themselves in Jerry and in the relationship with Jerry and Carol, that they can start conversations about that, because this show is so much about, yes, joy and love and music, but there's also this undertone of forgiveness and just having empathy for those who are going through something.
Yes.
And I hope that maybe sparks some conversations as well.
Yeah.
So.
That's excellent. And not only remember the memories that people might have with regards to the music, but also introduce this music to a younger audience who might not have those memories, but they can develop those memories by coming to see the show. So,
absolutely.
So Sarah and Nick, thank you so much. SARAH ELLIS, who plays Cynthia Weil, NICK MOULTON, who plays Barry Mann, thank you so much for your time. I know you have to get ready for your matinee show today. We are so appreciative of what you do on that stage, and we are thrilled for everyone to come and see the Carole King musical through May 11th. If you haven't gotten your tickets, please do so. If you saw it once, come see it again. You will love it, everyone. So thanks again. And I want to thank everyone for listening to Riverside Theater's Backstage Chat. It's a podcast where we get to talk to some of the artisans who work on our stages. And I also want to thank John Moses, our executive producer, and Alan Cornell, artistic director, for their vision and leadership. Until next time, I'm Oscar Sales.